Aloha, it's Dave Lawrence, and how you doing? I hope you're having a great day. A big mahalo for listening. Today we have a real music legend that we get to welcome. He is from a group that made a significant contribution to music over the last 50 years. It's a legacy including epic songs like Get Ready, Just My Imagination, My Girl, Ain't Too Proud to Beg, Papa Was a Rolling Stone, decades of live in-concert performances to an astounding international fan base, and their place, of course, in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Our guest is an original member, and according to their website and the way life has panned out, the only living original member of a music phenomenon that returns to Hawaii. We are fortunate for a trio of live shows, August 12th at the Blaisdell Arena in Honolulu, August 14th at the Waikoloa Bowl on the Big Island, and August 15th at the MAC in Kahului, all with the Four Tops also on the bill. It is a great pleasure to welcome from the Temptations, Otis Williams. Aloha and mahalo, Otis.
Aloha and mahalo to you and wonderful Hawaii.
It's a pleasure. Thank you so much for that. It's a pleasure to get to talk to you. I really mean it. Thank you so much for making yourself available. Now, is this going to be, and you'll add a little color to this, is this your first time back to the island since those shows you did a few years ago at the concert hall?
Probably is. Yeah, we were there about, I guess 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So this is our first time back since then.
And you personally, you haven't come out here and done any kind of vacationing or anything?
No, I haven't. As much as I love Hawaii, once we get downtime, I'm right head home enjoying my beautiful home.
Yeah. And who could blame you for that? But just for a point of reference, before we talk about this magical concert series coming up, how far back do you go personally and professionally with the islands? If you can just sort of retrace when you first recall coming here to perform live.
The first time we came had to have been about the 70s, because we were en route to Japan, and that was our stopover to do a date there. And then we came back again, and we did a gig there in Hawaii, and then we left from there and went to Australia. So we've been coming to the beautiful islands of Hawaii for a number of years.
And any sort of memories you have of those first days coming here in the 70s?
Just like all of them, all the way up to 5 years ago. Beautiful, surroundings, wonderful fan base, and just the wonderfulness and the loveliness of being in Hawaii.
Are there other islands besides Oahu that you guys historically or that you personally have visited?
Well, we'd be at Kona. We performed in Kona, and then naturally Maui. So those are about the only ones.
Okay, Big Island and Maui, and of course shows coming up as you return there. And any memories that come to mind when you think about Hawaii, like an experience maybe you guys had, maybe a moment on stage, maybe something that you did when you weren't playing?
Well, nothing, out of the way of us performing, while we're on stage. But the last time I was there, my son took me and my girl and see my conductor. And we rode around the island of when we were in Hawaii. So we took the motorcycle and just rode around, and I got a chance to see much more extensively of the island than just being right there, in Waikiki. So it was a wonderful, turnout. A time to go around and see the rest of the island.
Wow, so you did that here on Oahu?
Yes.
And you were on the back of a motorcycle?
Yeah, I was riding on the back of a motorcycle with my son.
You and he on one bike?
Yeah.
Man, that's awesome. What a great memory.
Yeah. He took me around because he was acting as our road manager. So he was over there because normally he plays drums for us, but he was acting as a road manager then. So it was fun. It was a lot of fun.
That's the kind of memory, I'm sure, Otis, that maybe it's fun for you, but I bet it's even more of a treasure for him. That's the kind of, I just think about myself with my dad. That'd be a great memory to be to be carrying around. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I have a picture sitting in my living room of him and I, on the bikes. My girlfriend, she took it, and I have it in my living room.
Wow, from on the bike here on Oahu?
Yes.
That is awesome. That's very cool. When you think about these shows that are coming up, which obviously people are very excited about, What can fans expect at this series of dates that the Temptations are about to do in the islands?
Well, as always, when I'm asked that question, they will get vintage Temptation all the way up to what we are doing now, as far as the Treat Her Like a Ladies and our most recent hit, Stay. But they'll be getting vintage Temptation. Papa Was a Rolling Stone, My Girl, Just My Imagination, I Wish It Would Rain, Ain't Too Proud to Beg. So then we'll do possibly Treat Her Like a Lady or Stay. And then there's a song that our fans seem to like when we do it here in the States, in the mainland. It's called You Are Necessary in My Life, and it's a cappella with us singing kind of like five-part tight close harmony. So they will be getting some fresh, old, and everything in between.
I like that. And when it comes to the set list that you guys prepare, especially, right in this current era of your life and with the group, how does the set list come about, Otis? Is it something you work on by yourself? Is it something that is done by consensus?
No, it's something I work on by myself because I've been there from day one. Now, I'm always open, if one of the guys got something that enhance the show or, what have you. But by and large, it all comes from me.
And is it something that I know with performers, and I have a lot of respect for how when you hit the stage, there's a few different ways you can go, and certainly some people like to mix it up and have almost no set list or a list of songs, and then they can hit them in a different order if they want, possibly drop some, add others. When you go to put the list together by yourself, is it a list that you guys stick with night after night? Is there any variation, or do you just like it to be like a machine that you can hit it and get into each of the songs right where you expect them to be?
Sometimes it varies, I'll go out and look at the audience, and sometimes if the audience reads that, okay, this is an up kind of crowd, we better do mostly fast songs. Or if I look at the crowd and see that they're the kind that just want a good show, be it slow or fast or whatever. So it depends on the audience.
And okay, that's interesting. So there will be a whole list on paper, and you'll turn to the musicians and sort of just have them go with what you think is right based on that list on paper, or are you calling stuff out that's not even on a list?
I'll let him know before we go on. Hey, Bob, I think we need to take out such and such, because I try not to do it on stage because, we have all that music written out, and to try and get the musicians at last-minute notice to try and take out something or find that it will disrupt the show. So I try and keep it where it's, once we're on stage, the show is what it is. But, but if I see the change or whatever, I'll let Bob, our conductor, know that, hey, Bob, you better take out what you call it. Look like we need to stay up-tempo. Or, hey, Bob, add Necessary back in there. I think we got one of those kind of attentive audience that wants to hear us sing as well as do all the choreography. So it varies.
And you'll make that decision looking out into the crowd just before the show?
Yeah, most cases I always try and go and read the audience.
I like that. So everybody should keep that in mind as they're sitting there before the show. Be careful what you think about, because Otis is back there reading.
That's right.
I like that. That's a good one, man. And now these shows also, Otis, are special in a lot of ways for people here in the islands, and invariably for folks elsewhere who are going to see it later in the tour, because I see that they're going to share some dates with you and other places, and that is you guys have the Four Tops on the bill. Can you speak a little bit about where you see them in music history?
Oh, the Four Tops, they are already etched in music history because, Tops have had just as many hits as the Temps, and they're legendary in their own right, and it's always great working with the Tops because it's been a fun-loving rivalry since the 60s. So they are truly etched in the Hall of Fame and in the musical history because, they are undeniable. They are one of the best singing, harmonizing groups ever, so I have the utmost respect for the Four Tops.
Now, you mentioned something interesting in there. You mentioned, I think, paraphrasing at least, you said something sort of like a friendly gentleman's rivalry between you. How does that impact the show itself? Being a group that has another, like you just described them in such an elegant, dignified way, you're with this historical band. How does that inspire or affect or challenge your own performance when you're doing a show like you're going to be doing here with the Four Tops on the bill?
Oh, it inspires us because we know they're going to go for the juggler. We're friends and all that, but we know once it's time to hit that stage, they're going to go for the juggler like we are. So we try and definitely hold up our end because we know Duke and them will get out there and start singing all their wonderful hits, and then they make the crowd get really excited. And another thing I must let you know, we flip flop. By that I mean one night we're open, they're closed. The next night they're open and we're closed. So if they are opening, we know that they are going to go out there and make it very hot and hardy for us to follow. So we understand that. So when we go out, we try and do the same thing.
That is awesome. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, that it would kind of push you to new heights, yeah?
It does. It does. It keeps it exciting.
Yeah, I mean, because especially when... I'm sorry?
Keeps it from being stagnant.
Yeah, sure. No, when you respect a band like that, and then and they're really from that same sort of era. And also, if I'm not mistaken, is Theo People still with them?
Yeah, Theo's still with them.
And he's an ex-Temptation, if anyone doesn't know. And are you still tight with him, or?
Oh yeah, we still friends. Theo singing lead on "Stay," which is one of the songs that we'll be doing, which is from our Phoenix Rising album, which sold over 1.5 million copies. So we'll be doing "Stay," but originally Theo was with us, and he did "Stay."
And that kind of leads me into this other final question relating to the Tops part of your show. Are you guys going to perform together at all?
No, there was a time that we did do that, but no, we might do it in time again, but as it stands now, no.
Okay. When you think about former members of the Temptations, like Theo Peoples, who we were just talking about, another guy that I know that you worked with when I was thinking about some of the stuff to talk about with you, was you got to work with Ray Davis from P-Funk.
Oh, yeah. Ray was a wonderful friend of ours, and he was singing bass with us for, I think, one album, and then Ray had an illness, and we had to let him go. And unfortunately, about 6 years or so ago, he passed.
Yeah, he was a monster. I saw him a bunch of times after he was with you when he did that original P. Remember that?
Yes.
And he and a few of the other dudes from P-Funk would go out and do really burning shows, I must say, just as a exclamation point. Any great memory of working with Ray?
Well, he was just fun-loving. Nothing really other than a hell of a bass singer, and he did one album with us, For Lovers Only, and he did a tremendous job on that, and so he was just a wonderful, good-hearted person that I hate that we had to let him go, but like I said, due to illness, we had to let him go, but wonderful, funny. He was funny as all get out. Some of the things, I can't say some of the things that we talked about because they're a little risque, but and then he was a funny person.
Well, coming from the Parliament world, that's not a surprise.
Yeah, right.
And recently in that world, I don't know if you know him or not, but I got to meet him a couple times and thought he was really one of the nicest people. When you talk about Ray like that, it makes me only think of him too, and that is Gary Scheider. Did you know Gary at all?
No, who's that?
He was the guitar player and singer in Parliament Funkadelic.
Oh, he just recently passed, I heard.
Yeah, he was the one he wrote One Nation Under a Groove.
Oh, yeah. No, I forgot. It's been such a long time since I saw Parliament Funkadelic, but yeah, I heard that he recently just passed.
You like that song, right?
Oh, heck yeah.
And then he also did that song Cosmic Slop. That was him.
Yeah. Very talented.
Very, very talented guy. That's the thing about you. You're plugged in and connected to so many folks. How long have you known Smokey Robinson?
Oh, I've been knowing Smokey since the late 50s. But we started working together fluently in 62 when we signed with Motown in 61. Smokey started writing and producing on us. And so we've been knowing Smokey ever since they started out with I Got a Job. How long ago that was? That was the answer to Get a Job.
He is a legendary figure like yourself. Is he someone that you are still tight with?
Oh, yeah. Smokey will always be my friend. I saw Smoke the 8th of last month. We had to go into New York to be a part of the Friars Club. They were honoring him. And I presented him with a big picture painted by a friend of mine, Renee Dickerson, and it's called Barry's Vision. And this here picture encompasses all of Motown's great acts and then had Smokey on there with Barry, and then Smokey on there with the Miracle. So I gave him that, and he was really moved to tears.
Man.
Beautiful painting.
That's heavy. That's really cool, man.
Thank you.
Ah, you're welcome. I mean, he's an amazing dude. You don't think there's any way someday, Otis, you try to set me up to do a quick phoner with him, do you?
Well, it's kind of hard because I see Smokey every now and then, and he's all over the place. So if I can get a chance, I would definitely hook it up for you.
Yeah, you just put a bug in my ear. I've just admired him so much. You know where you know how it is. Sometimes you don't see a band you want to see or an artist. I finally got to see him. It was at that Madison Square Garden Rock Hall 25 thing last fall, and he sat in with Stevie Wonder. Tracks of My Tears. I think.
Yeah. Well, you're speaking of one of the all-time greats, and especially far as lyrics and things. So, Smokey is in a stratosphere of his own.
No, he certainly is. It's great the way that you have so much reverence and respect for people. If you were to think, because you've had the kind of life that, I mean, a lot of people are envious of the level of success you've achieved, and of the amount of music that you've been a part of, both playing and seeing live. When you think of yourself, Otis, the legendary Otis Williams from The Temptations, who would you rank as the best live performer you've seen?
Wow, I've seen quite a few. One of the best, because I would never say the best out of all, because we've been on a lot of shows. But one of the best is the late great Jackie Wilson.
Okay.
And growing up, acts like Frank and Lyman and the Teenagers, the Cadillacs. Then Aretha Franklin, I mean, the list, I've been on the stage with so many that I consider great, that the list would get to be very long.
That's cool that you mentioned, it sounds sort of like Al Green's list. I just talked to him a couple months ago.
Right, yeah, well, see, there's one. There's the one who I love and admire is the great Al Green, because, I love the way he phrases a song and how he comes out of his natural on into his false, just as a smooth transition. I'll tell you somebody else that I think is definitely the greatest of all time, the late, great Sammy Davis Jr.
Oh, he was a monster.
Yes, he was.
Very, very talented cat.
Yep.
No, that totally makes sense. That's just funny on the Al tip real quick, because you mentioned Jackie first, and that's who he mentions first, and then you said all those things about Al. I can see, something in there. It's sort of like a tribute to Jackie, I guess, the way you're describing it.
Oh, well, when we used to work with Jackie, Jackie would set the place on fire, and we would co-star, and he would be the headlining star, and I was glad that we opened before him, because to come on after Jackie, you would catch purity hell, because the women loved him, and then, he was just such a dynamic singer, and then he was a very handsome guy. And then when he would drop to his knees or do the splits and take that microphone and do all those different gyrations, and then he'd get down there and start kissing, the women and what have you. I said, yeah, I'm glad we opened before Jackie, because he was something else to follow.
Totally, man. I mean, that's really maybe why you've had the impact you've had, is because you've teamed, through the years, whether it's you, promoters, whomever, you've been on the bill with so many people that offer you, some sort of challenge that your performance goes up a notch.
That fine-tunes you to be a better performer when you are on the stage with some of the greats like we have. I mean, I could name names for quite a while about some of the great acts that we've been on stage with. That Little Anthony and the Imperials. They're not to be taken lightly, and they're still working as well. So my list is endless. We've shared the stage with some of the all-time greats.
No, you've been really lucky. I saw the Little Anthony and the Imperials at that same Rock Hall 25 thing.
Right.
That's cool that you mentioned them.
Yeah.
Well, as a final note, just a final question here for you today. If you were, as a guy, like I said, who has the longevity that few other people have, whatever your career is, a guy like you, Otis, you're an example for how to stick with something for a very, 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 very long time. If there has been some advice that you learned through your career, either through your own experiences, possibly by screwing something up and having to get it right later, or maybe it's advice that a parent or a relative told you, or it could have been a manager, a promoter, it could have been a fellow musician. Somewhere along the line, I was just wondering if there was any sort of important message that was given to you or that you found important in your life that you could just share with us.
Well, one of the things that I've always believed in, and it has proven to work for me, is if you believe in something strong enough and hard enough, be convicted to that, and that's what I have always been. When I saw the great rock and roll shows that came to the Fox Theater back during the 50s, and when I saw how 5 or 4 people on stage or one person on stage could electrify, take command and control the human emotions like what I saw then, I said to myself, that's what I want to do. That's what I want to be. So when you have a dream that you really believe in, do not let nothing and no one take you out of your focus. You have to stay focused and believe in yourself, and I believe in time it will happen, because it definitely worked for me, so I just being very believing in what what you can do and what you want to do, and just have that strong connection of that's what you want to do and be.
Man, I appreciate it. I really do. You sharing stuff like that means a lot, and sometimes cats like yourself can just come up with something that becomes the kind of advice that many, many, many years down the road, you've sort of laid it to tape, if you will, or I laid your advice to tape, and it will endure for a long time. So thank you for that. I do mean that. And my man, Otis Williams from The Temptations, I hope that you've enjoyed speaking today as much as I have. I thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. Yeah, now I got to get up here and run over into L.A. now.
Hey, I can't ask for much more. I give you a big hug, Otis. And
now,
when you're in town, is there any way I could maybe grab a quick picture with you or something?
Glad to. Just come on over to the place.
All right, I will, and I'll give you a big hug. Please travel safely, and thank you so much for being so generous with your time today.
My pleasure.
Be safe, brother. Aloha.
Aloha. Aloha. This is Otis Williams of The Temptations, and this is the only show that matters. You're tuned to my good friend Dave Lawrence. Aloha. This is Otis Williams of The Temptations, and this is the only show that matters. You're tuned to my good friend Dave Lawrence. Hey, Brother Dave, have a smoking 420.